apparently we had an issue with the audio stream. Thank you guys for telling me about that. And it looks like we have fixed it. So awesome. So what I was saying is, yay, we have now launched the pre-sale crowdfund for Birth of a Unicorn. And what that means is if you go to the link that is showing up on the screen, publicizer.com, look for Birth of a Unicorn, or go to that link that's in the screen, you will find the pre-sale for Birth of a Unicorn, which is my latest book about the early years of my time at Evernote. And what's special about this book is that you will see that it is super cool. It is a very, very special book because most people, when they're writing a business book, they only talk about the super cool ways that people have succeeded. And they want you to emulate how other people have succeeded in order for you to be successful. I'm going to tell you how we failed and failed and failed again along the way to be successful. And not just how Evernote as a whole did stuff. I'm going to tell you how I personally was living my life and failed in my relationships at home and sacrificed a lot of stuff in order to get to that massive $1 billion valuation. Because a lot of people think that you have to, that you can have it all, that you can lean in and somehow make your way to the top. And when you see that Instagram version of somebody's life, when you see that amazing, beautiful, like I'm drinking lattes every day, I'm having these power meetings, all of that stuff, what you miss is all of the stuff they're not doing, all of the people they're leaving behind, all of the stuff they're neglecting. And you think that it's not having an emotional toll. And nobody really teaches you how to deal with that. So what I'm going to show you in this book is not only how to have that lifestyle, how to build that company, but a few frameworks on how to get to the end, how to have success when you get there. It's a really personal book. There's a lot of stuff that I've never talked about before that's in this book. And in showing these stories, in sharing this part of my life, this part of Evernote's journey, I hope to give you a little bit of the world that is a startup, the world that can help you succeed. One really cool thing about this crowdfund as well is if you buy the book while it is in the pre-order phase, all of the net proceeds are going to go towards Serenzi Global, which is a nonprofit that my friends and I have started that teaches workshops and trainings for STEM education. So 100% of the net proceeds for this book sale go to a nonprofit. There is no profit being made by me. I'm donating this book to charity, all of it during the crowdfund. So you are going to support education if you buy this book. So one of the things that I want to share from this book, one of the coolest stories is when I was living in La Paz, in the early years, some of you may know this, some of you may not, I was living on a boat in Mexico when we were starting Evernote. So I had this amazing Instagram-style digital nomad lifestyle where I was living on a sailboat, starting a company, starting this $1 billion business, which we didn't know was going to happen, but I was living on a sailboat in Mexico. And when we were just starting out, an insane thing happened. The marina that I was in, we were underneath a hurricane warning. A Category 5 hurricane came near us, and there were only a couple people in the company at the time. We only had like 15 or 16 employees. And I was an entire department. Like, so if I wasn't there, the company was going to really be affected. Thankfully, there's a big story in the book that you have to read to understand what happened here. But thankfully, we came out okay, but a lot of people didn't. There was a major, major destruction. Like 2 entire towns in Mexico were wiped off the map from this hurricane. And when I talked to my CTO, Dave Engberg, who just had he just had his latest company go public on the NASDAQ last week, the NASDAQ. So congratulations, Dave. Way to go, Livongo. Awesome. I wanted to, I didn't know how to quite ask him if I could take some time off, just a few days, but that's huge in an early company, to go help the survivors of the hurricane. And Dave said, Evernote is all about community. Like, this is the community. You need to help them. You need to go out and help the community of your people and go help your tribe. So he knew that he could make it work. He took over my job for a couple of days so that I could go help the hurricane survivors. And one of those people was a guy named Archie. Archie worked on a boat. He'd lived on a boat for 40 years with his wife, Star. They bought a boat in the early 70s, and they'd lived on it for 40 years, traveling the world. And his boat had been damaged in the hurricane, so they had to pull it out of the water, and they were doing the repairs by themselves. I mean, he'd learned how to do all of this. He'd learned how to bootstrap it. He was as much of an entrepreneur as any of us, right? And over those 40 years, he had been traveling and collecting a stone from every place that he'd gone, every island he landed on, every place that he and Star had gone together. And I mean, they were rocks and stones of all varying sizes, of all different kinds. And they also bought a plot of land in Oregon, around 35 acres. And he told me it was the most beautiful plot of land you'd ever seen, with a stream and beautiful trees that went up into they blocked out the sun in some places. So with those stones and that plot of land, the 2 of them had been building a house for 40 years. Every one of those stones mortared by hand. And they were almost done. And so Leon and I, my husband at the time, he and I were driving up to San Diego to go get supplies, which is about 1,000 miles away. But we needed to get supplies for the hurricane survivors. And so Archie asked if he could come with us. And with him, he brought some stones. And because he was going to go get supplies for his boat, but then also he was going to take a quick trip up to Oregon to put some of the last remaining stones onto his house. And Leon asked him, how was he going to know when he was done? Because couldn't he, after 40 years, didn't they have, this wanderlust? Weren't they always going to travel? Wasn't there always going to be, another trip to Antigua that was going to pop into his head? How could they just stop? And what Archie said to him was something that I've always remembered. He said, you know when you're done. You know when a project is finished, and that it has an end point. And you can look at it and say, this is good enough. This is the end. And then if we want to create something else, if we want to build a shed, if we want to have a trip to Antigua, if we want to do something else, then that's something new. That's something new we create. But this has an end. And you just have to walk away when it's done. And business is like that. Business is something that you just have to understand, that whether it works out or it doesn't work out, whether it looks like you expected or whether it is completely different stones that have all different colors and shapes and sizes, and takes 40 years to complete. It's like that sometimes it just has an end. And like my friend Dave's company, it had an exit after 2 years. And others, after 30 are still going strong with no end in sight. So every business is like that. And in this book, you're going to learn things like Archie's story, and then you'll be able to apply them to your own. Everything that you learn in this book is going to be immediately useful to you. I guarantee that you will find something that you relate to in a completely different way than you have ever seen before. So I will be, as I said, every book that you buy during this crowdfund, the next 30 days, all of the money is going to be donated to Serenzi Global, all the net proceeds. And that's going to, so your book, your purchase of this book is going to go to help other people learn things like this, and also other STEM opportunities. So they're going to learn about machine learning and AI and leadership and marketing and all sorts of things. And we're going to help to create diversity scholarships for people that are unable to go to conferences because they can't afford it, to go to workshops because they can't afford it. But most importantly, you will get a copy of this book. And there's some amazing bonuses that are part of this as well. So you can get some one-on-one coaching. You can have me appear at a keynote. You can attend the launch party here in Las Vegas for the book once it actually is in print. And you can have me do a teleconference, but you can also get a Unicorn Power t-shirt, which is super cool as well. As soon as I have as soon as I have one of those in, I will show it to you. But every day I'm going to be doing one of these, and I'll give you another tip, another story from the book that you can learn about, and hopefully you will buy this, share this, and support me and support the other people that have helped me to write this book, and the people whose stories are in it that have really helped to grow these businesses. So thank you, and I will be back tomorrow to